CataractCoach.com, podcast series, episode number 90 with Dr. Lisa Nijm, founder of Real World Ophthalmology, helping the next generation of surgeons succeed. Welcome back to our Cataract Coach podcast. And today, I have a very special guest, my dear friend, Dr. Lisa Nijm. Now, you've seen her name and her face everywhere, especially recently with Real World Ophthalmology. But she's got even more stuff, including MDJD. We'll talk more about that. And also the Women in Ophthalmology. So welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much, Uday. It's such a pleasure to be here. You're a global phenomenon, and I just love what you've done to help educate surgeons around the world in cataract surgery and everything else. So thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, my pleasure. Now, behind you, you've got your background that talks about the Real World Ophthalmology. I was lucky enough to be a guest at your event in Chicago at the Academy. Wow, that was amazing. Tell me more about Real World Ophthalmology, how you got started and where you're at now.
Thank you. Yes, we loved having you there. You're our honorary guest, and our attendees absolutely adore our faculty. Real World Ophthalmology started 3 years ago now with this idea that I had coming out of the pandemic, where I realized that our young ophthalmologists were not able to get the information that they normally would have from interactions with senior ophthalmologists at meetings and in other environments. And, really the landscape for education, as you know, has changed dramatically, I think, post-pandemic. And when as you mentioned, I am an MD-JD. I have a strong passion for education. And I saw that the young ophthalmologists who were in training and early practice were asking me the same questions that I had, when I finished a decade ago. And so I feel it's so important for physicians to have life skills like negotiation, especially negotiation, to help them as they enter early practice and really throughout their career. But I was doing some of those workshops virtually, and I kept hearing time and time again, people asking me the same questions about what I did to start my practice, some of the real business practical questions of ophthalmology, and even about the new clinical innovations that they might have heard of, but they weren't sure about, or they hadn't gotten a chance to use it yet. So I finally sat back and said, you know what, I've been waiting a long time. I think I can do something about this. I have, I know a lot of incredible educators like yourself, and I've coached negotiation at over 40 different residency programs across the country. I have a lot of friends in academics, private practice, industry, and I felt that there was an opportunity to bring everyone together with the idea to help young ophthalmologists learn from seasoned ophthalmologists and create a community where we can all help each other. Because I truly believe that nobody helps physicians like other physicians. We're the only ones that know the shoes that, you're the only one that knows the kind of shoes that I've walked in, and vice versa when I help somebody who's coming after me. So the idea was really to bring physicians together in a community that's run by physicians for physicians, to give the real practical education about real world issues that we encountered to help young ophthalmologists as they enter from training to early practice.
Wow. You have a very wide breadth, meaning you actually have medical students who do stuff with real world ophthalmology. You've got the interns and residents, you've got fellows, you've got young surgeons who are just starting in practice. So you kind of cover the full spectrum.
Yes, we have. Our goal are ophthalmology training residents and fellows through the first 10 years of practice. And we do involve and incorporate medical students who are interested in ophthalmology as best we can. We're very specific about the kind of education that we try and make sure that what we're doing is really impactful for each of those groups. And so we now have over 4,500 young ophthalmologists from 110 countries around the world.
That is fantastic. I also noticed at the event, you had a lot of hands-on stations with your sponsors, which I thought was really neat. Tell me about that.
Thank you. Yes. Well, we like to bring things that are unique, and we want to bring things that are really going to be innovative and help young ophthalmologists become familiar in early practice with the innovations that are going to help their patients. So I had kind of given a mandate to any of our partners who are going to be there, that I asked them to bring things that were hands-on, that people get a chance to try, and then follow up the whole rest of the weekend. Academy is such a great meeting to be able to experience those new innovations and new devices and learn about new medications available. And so this kind of opens the door that they get a taste of it, and then they can also follow up and learn more or do a deeper dive.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And you were very successful in getting so many different companies involved to, to give a wide spectrum of education there. So I saw stuff for glaucoma, cataract things, refractive surgery. I mean, you kind of cover the gamut.
Yeah, we have, we've got great, as you can imagine, with over 4,500 young ophthalmologists. We have young ophthalmologists in all specialties, and I have dear friends in all specialties. So I really make a point to expose young ophthalmologists to all the different innovations that are available. And then we also have partnerships with all the major subspecialties. So we had ambassadors there from ASRS, from AGS, from Cornea Society, from Glaucoma Society, from everywhere, oculoplastics. We wanted to make sure that people get connected with the right mentors and with the right physician mentors, and also learn how they can be involved in the subspecialty societies themselves. Because I think, again, it's really important for all of us to be supportive of each other, and to be turning to fellow physicians as our mentors and our leaders in the field to see how we can continue to improve our patient care.
Yeah, finding a mentor is actually so critically important. I mean, even now, and I'm past the age of 50, I still have a couple of mentors who are in their 70s, who I go to all the time for advice.
It is really crucial. And I have so many anecdotes of things that have happened at real world ophthalmology events that really warm my heart. And, it's even beyond what I was hoping for when I put all this together and all the work that goes into it. We had one resident ophthalmologist at this past event that was losing his training program. There's a training program that's closing. Wow. He happened to talk to one of our faculty mentors, Grayson Armstrong, who said, you know what, I know somebody at this program who might be looking for a resident. They have a spot open. He met them. Grayson introduced them. He met them. They interviewed him on the spot, and now he has a place at Columbia. And so,
how amazing is that?
It is. It's so exciting. We've had people find research fellowships through Real World. We've had people find jobs through Real World. We've had people find mentors for various activities, whether they're trying to get into residency, whether doing fellowship, or they want to start their own practice, or they're asking questions about joining group practice, or they're already in practice and they want to look to take their practice to the next level, be it incorporating some type of new surgery, or maybe making a move to open their own practice. So education is our stronghold. And from that, we've been able to bring together so many incredible people who are mentors, who are natural mentors, who want to help the people coming after them to ease their path. And it's beautiful when you bring ophthalmologists like that together. We can achieve great things, and we have.
That sounds amazing. Well, there's so much to learn outside of residency. Like, one of the most naive things I've said, and I've said many in my life, was when I was a senior resident, I said, I told myself, I can't wait till I'm in practice. It'll be so much easier. Oh my goodness, it's so much harder. What was I thinking? It's so much harder, because now you have to deal with all the things that you never were taught in residency.
Yes, it's so you're so right. And there's this kind of relief that you're no longer in training and you finally reached that goal.
Right.
But the learning never stops and the new things that you have to do never stop. And now you've got like 10,000 more things to
Right.
add to what you're doing in clinic. And so that's also what we try to do is curate that content, because I do think that it's really important to have education that's specific, that's career specific, and that brings these incredible experts to give, high level, high quality, high yield
Right.
information in a concise format that's digestible when you have so many different things going on and so many different things that you're trying to learn. We focus a lot also on the business of ophthalmology, because that's one thing that hardly any of us learned in training. And we've got a great partnership with AAOE. Joy Woodkey and her team come in as the coding experts and deliver at each of our virtual meetings, which we have two huge ones each year, fall and spring. And they deliver specific content on coding and billing and practice management, which, like you said, as you're coming out, these are all of these things that we've got to do. We got to do well. But yet our knowledge base is maybe not as great as it needs to be.
Right. And the world's totally changed. I think you're right about this. I mean, if you look back 20 years ago, gosh, it's so long ago, but that's when I started practice. 20 years ago, you would read the trade journals every week. What's in the current issue of Ocular Surgery News? I would get a book by John Pinto about starting a practice. And that was amazing then. But now, I mean, the trade journals, they come with, I wrote an article and my face is, in the magazine. My staff has an instruction, just throw it away. I don't read that. I don't do that anymore. I'm not learning surgery. I'm not learning business. I'm not doing it through a book. I'm doing it online. And so the way we approach things now is so different. I think a huge reason why you're succeeding, obviously, is your talents, but also because you're providing content in the way that people want content now. So tell me, how has it changed? Because you're younger than me, so obviously you've got a little bit of a foot in my space before. Now it's completely the world. No one does the old-fashioned stuff anymore.
You're completely right. And I think post-pandemics, it's changed even more. The landscape for ophthalmology has changed for jobs, and the landscape for education has certainly changed. What we have and what we offer at Real World Ophthalmology is a multifaceted approach so that we meet the learner wherever they're at. We've got these two huge virtual meetings that I mentioned, one in the spring, Tell Me Your Secrets, and one in the fall, the top 10 things I wish I knew sooner. And we try and curate the content there to what's going on at that time of the year for young ophthalmologists. Then we do have a podcast, RWO podcast, which we're going to do a crossover episode, I'm sure. We would love
I'll link all your projects below. So if you're listening to the podcast, watch the video, below I'll have links to all those things.
We love it. Thank you. Because some people want to listen, get education while they're on their way to the gym or they're on their way to clinic in the morning. So we go into deeper depth with some of our key speakers on topics that we've received feedback from our audience that they want more knowledge on. We also have actually we have on our website, the RWO Newsflash, where we've started introducing articles from our incredible RWO team. So I've got this amazing team of medical students, research fellows, young ophthalmologists in practice. They're all the physicians who are helping me put this content together and are really keeping our fingers on the pulse of what the education topics for young ophthalmologists that are most pressing at this time. And so we use that to be able to introduce education on cutting edge topics and things that may come up that we can quickly turn around to kind of give some information on. We also have RWO Corner in ophthalmology management, and hopefully we'll have one in OSN soon. And that gives, again, more of the business type of topics. And then we have virtual educational content throughout the year. So we do an OCAPS review, that we do it as Jeopardy. in the spring. That got really great reviews last year. We do mock oral board review, which we've had feedback. This is the second time we did it. And we had feedback from our members who participated, who did nothing more than study for the board on their own, of course, and take our mock oral review, and they passed. And they were delighted. We did mock oral interviews for people entering residency, for people entering fellowship, and then we'll have an upcoming one, mock interviews for jobs. And that also was a fantastic effort by our faculty to give people a chance to simulate interviews and practice those skills before they go out in the real world. And then we do have the in-person events that we've done that give a chance to bring people together in person, because that's what we like to do. We do a lot of education virtually, but then we also supplement that with collaborations with local ophthalmology societies and at the major meetings, where we do in-person events to be able to connect the live and the virtual and give people a chance to come together and really expand their network and expand their knowledge. And so we have our two.
Academy, you did one, and where are the other locations you do your in-person meetings?
Yeah, so we do things at Ascaris, at Arvo. I just came a couple weeks ago. We did a Real World on the Road with the Kentucky Ophthalmology Association. Wow. Yes, we did a great RWO lunch. I was their keynote speaker. We did a workshop on negotiation, and then we continued into lunch with specifically for the young ophthalmologists there, tips and pearls on contract negotiations. And so we're able to, I've done several things from Cincinnati to Boston. We'll be hopefully in South Florida early next year. It's really something where we go to where our members are, and we try to bring the education to them personally in their hometowns, as well as giving them something to look forward to when they do have a chance to come to the meetings. So we try to meet everybody where they're at.
That is amazing. And just, what an incredible output. You have a huge output in terms of projects that you're doing, which is amazing. But what people don't sometimes realize is that to achieve that output, the input is usually 10x that. Like so you see the webinar. Well, the webinar was 2 hours. Yeah, but that was at a minimum 20 hours of work to get it done. Probably more like 200 hours of work.
Yeah, it's so true. The planning and getting the right faculty and curating the content and making sure that this is, we really strive to do high yield, high impact, because we know everybody's time is valuable, and we want to be able to bring the best content that we can that's going to be most helpful to you and to your patients in a concise format. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The planning phase takes so much more than what is people see as the output.
Right, for sure. Now you talked a little bit about the negotiations.
Yeah.
Give our listeners a couple of pros. What are some good pros for negotiations?
Yeah. So, I mean, you've known me for a long time and wanting to help increase physicians' knowledge on this. So I think, actually my first pearl is that negotiation is not something that you should just think about when you have that high stakes, signing my first job contract kind of negotiation. A negotiation is a life skill, and something that the more you practice, the more that you're going to get more comfortable with, and you're going to get better at. And so I think, the first thing is to recognize that negotiation is something that we do every day, and your attitude and how you come into negotiation does make a difference. There's actually a substantial amount of literature that shows that your mindset and how you approach a negotiation is going to influence the outcome. So when I teach,
what's the right approach? I'm interested in knowing.
You gotta come in with the mindset of a deal maker. You want to come in with the mindset that you're going to come together and find a way to have mutual areas that you can agree upon, and areas that you can expand the pie, something perhaps that would be not as high of a value or something that you can give, but that's something that the other side would be very important to them, and vice versa. And you have to identify your goals for the negotiation, because if you don't, then somebody else is going to do it for you. So planning, having the right mindset, planning for your negotiation. There is a study out of the Harvard Program of Negotiation that showed, it was actually an experiment, and those that planned, they gave 3 minutes to plan for their negotiation, and people that they just sent in cold. And even with 3 minutes of time of preparation, the group that had that ability to plan before they went in had much better results than the ones that just went in cold.
Just 3 minutes.
3 minutes, just 3 minutes. So, just I think it's really, it underscores the importance and the value of coming into negotiation with set goals, with an understanding that you're going to have to give and take on things. You're going to have to look for ways to come up with mutual solutions. And, and ultimately understanding that negotiation is about communication. And the best communicators listen more than they talk, and interpret all of the cues that they get from the other side, both verbal and nonverbal. And we know that nonverbal make about 65% of the of communication. So I think that that's just 3 kind of areas to think about. But when you want to have a successful negotiation, it's best to think of this in terms of long-term relationship, how you can have the right mindset, how you can best plan for your negotiation, and how you can listen and adjust your responses during your negotiation, picking up on verbal and nonverbal cues in order to be able to come to an agreement or come to an understanding that's really going to benefit both parties for the long-term relationship.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that's probably one of the most valuable things that I see from real-world ophthalmology, the negotiation pearls. Because if you look at ophthalmology, it's so funny. First, I think all ophthalmologists have a little bit of crazy. That's why we're in ophthalmology. That's why you devote your careers to this tiny little organ. In fact, most of us don't even do the whole eye. We just do parts of it.
That's so true.
And so everyone in ophthalmology has a little bit of crazy, right? It's probably why the divorce rate in ophthalmology is sky high. But there were also a lot of lone wolves in ophthalmology. There are a lot of solo practitioners, much more so than a lot of other fields. And I think a lot of that, in fact, it's true for me earlier in my career. Someone you try to partner with just straight up takes advantage of you. And so understanding how to stand up to yourself and negotiate is critical.
I should say one thing. Everything we do in real-world ophthalmology is free for ophthalmologists. So that is my goal. It's and I will, as long as I can, I will keep it that way, because I think this is knowledge that should be shared. And as a physician community, we want to be able to freely exchange information to help each other. I agree with you. I think there are certain personality types that can enter the field, but I think this is true across medicine. And I think that the job landscape has certainly changed, especially for young ophthalmologists. I would say in the last 5 to 10 years, with the advent of private equity, with the consolidation of healthcare systems. And the truth is, whether you're a young ophthalmologist or you've been in practice for many years, there are negotiations every day. You have with your patients, you have with your staff, you have with vendors that you work with, where you buy equipment, and if you have kids, I tell people you're negotiating all the time.
Right.
But I think, the realities of the situation are, you do have to be able to protect yourself. You do have to be able to, I think a lot of us, I know I was so excited to finally make that move from being in training to being in practice. We don't have those years of experience of negotiating contracts that many of our friends who are same age, who are in other fields, other business, law, etc., would have had at that point. And so it is, it makes it crucial. And this was one of my motivations for putting all this work into real world ophthalmology, was to try and help level the playing field with physicians, with young ophthalmologists in the business world, in the reality of this, of what the environment that we have to practice in. And there are so many different facets of that that contribute to your success. And negotiation is certainly one of them, and understanding how to work with staff, and how to pass your boards, learning about finances. I mean, there are just so many practical things that my whole thought and motivation. I wrote the first agenda in a day and a half, and they were all things that I had done, but I struggled with when I started. And so it's again having that personal experience that I sit there and I'm like, what are the things I wish somebody had told me sooner? You can figure it out. We're all smart enough to, and you all can. But gosh, isn't it easier if somebody who's already done this comes back and says, hey, you know what? I was in your shoes 10 years ago. Here are some things you want to watch out for. Here's some things that I did that maybe you don't want to do, or here are some things I did that you do want to do. I would suggest doing. I think that knowledge is invaluable, and it's something that it's such a gift to be in a profession with so many incredible surgeons who have that mindset, who want to help the next generation coming after them.
No, that's so true. Wow. Now, how did you get on the path doing both an MD and going to law school to get the JD? You did both.
I did. And most people ask me if it was to defend myself in lawsuits, and that's it's not the case. Thank God. I've been very blessed. I have very supportive parents who from the start said, we want you to do whatever it is that is going to make you happy. I'm Catholic, I'm Christian, so wanted something that was a profession that serves, and also, uses the talents that God blessed me with. So when I went into college, my God bless his soul, my dad was an internal medicine doc, and I had grown up watching him in his office. It's actually the same office that I practice in today. Wow. Yes, that was very special for me. I was able to come back and spend a few years with him before the good Lord called him. But back in college, actually, even in high school, I went on the weekends, on Saturdays. I used to answer the phone in the front desk. And I used to think that that was the most exciting thing ever, was, to pick up the phone and answer it in Dr. Nijm's office. Fast forward, I went into undergrad as a pre-med and took the courses, did well, enjoyed it. And then I had an epiphany, because I had a required speech class that was set up like a courtroom. And I did that, and I did very well at it. And so then I started having this major career debate about what it is that I really want to do. And so to his credit, my dad said, well, let's take some time and have you explore some different options to see what it is that you truly enjoy. Because actually my hardest interview for medical school wasn't any of the MD JD programs I applied for, wasn't any of the medical schools, anything. It was my dad, because he wanted to make sure 110% that I was going to medicine because that's what I wanted to do, not because I thought that he wanted me to do it. And so I spent about a year going through, spending time with different potential mentors in law, in business, in medicine. I did career testing. And from all of that, what came out was that the areas that I enjoyed most about the law were advocating for people who didn't have a voice themselves. And I realized that my heart was in medicine. I loved the thought of being a physician and being able to care for patients on a daily basis. And to this day, I think there's no greater profession, no greater gift than being able to help somebody with their health problems. But I saw that it was the advent of managed care, and I saw how my dad had to really advocate for patients to get the kind of care that they needed. he saw somebody who has, he was worried about cancer. And so he would want them to have an MRI. But the insurance company said, no, you had to get a chest x-ray first, and then you had to get a CT, and then you had to get an MRI. And it would be 6-month delay before they actually got the test that he felt that they so strongly felt that they needed. And by then, as like a cancer diagnosis can be devastating. So he really went up to bat for patients from early on to make sure that they got the care that they needed. And I felt that that was something that was really crucial for physicians to do, to be advocates for their patients and for the profession, to have a voice outside of what we do in the office. So I stumbled upon the MD-JD programs. There were 8 in the country. I don't think there are many more at this point.
Well, there are very few universities offer.
Yes. And I chose to go to Southern Illinois University School of Medicine, School of Law's program because they had a very developed program. It was an integrated 6-year full-time. I had to sit for the MCAT and the LSAT to apply. So I applied to MD-JD programs, and I applied to straight medical school. Because if I didn't do an MD-JD program, I was going to go into medicine. And I was fortunate they take 2 people a year. And so I was selected as one of those.
Just 2?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Competitive. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Very highly competitive and very selective. And, they hold the spots at the medical school. As you start off in the law school, the first 2 years are full-time law school through the summers, and then 4 years of medical school. The last year of medical school is a combined curriculum taught at the med school, and that's how you finish. And so then all of my internships were health law, health policy related. I did a lot of work in DC that I still rely on to this day. And I think it really, I've utilized those skills in so many different facets, as you've heard some of them here. But it is, it's truly what motivates me to this day. I try to look for areas of unmet need and areas that I can be of help. And I saw it with the young ophthalmologists, and that was really the impetus for doing everything that I have.
Yeah, you connect really amazingly well with the young ophthalmologists. I remember before the pandemic, maybe 6-7 years ago, we had you over here in Los Angeles to speak. Back then, when I was teaching at UCLA, had you speak to the residents, and you were just a hit. They just loved you, couldn't get enough. I mean, they kept you like, they were shutting down the restaurant. The residents still had more questions for you.
True.
The restaurant's like, you need to leave now.
I forgot about that. That's true.
You have an amazing skill set here. So it's really, we're very fortunate to have you in ophthalmology and for all that you do. And the nice part is all these programs are just free.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. That's the goal. That's it. I mean, we're very fortunate that we've got sponsors that cover the costs. But the idea is that we want this knowledge that's accessible to everyone. And we want to bring this community of physicians together to help serve each other and help ease the path so that young ophthalmologists can achieve success quicker and to be able to help their patients to a greater extent. Because we also know that the burden in ophthalmology is going to be increasing, and these young docs are going to need, they're going to need all the resources and all the tools to be able to handle this volume of patients that are starting and that will continue to come. So the more that we can do to help each other out, the more that we're going to be doing to help our profession and, most importantly, help our patients.
That's for sure. I mean, the volume, if you just look at cataract surgery in the USA, the volume over the last 20 years has increased every single year. It has more than doubled from what it was 20 years ago. This last year, I think in the US, it was more than 4 million cataracts. Yeah. And in the very near future, that's going to keep climbing. So if you're a young ophthalmologist now, wow, there is a huge need for your services for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we also know, I mean, the top 5 diseases that are in the baby boomer population are also, have eye findings, need eye care from diabetes, high blood pressure. We have new innovations with macular degeneration, with glaucoma. I mean, we are going to need all hands on deck across the board, and everyone to help each other with kind of this knowledge that you don't readily learn in training, but that you learn in the real world. And I think the more that we can share that between each other as physicians coming together, the better off everyone is going to be.
I think you're right. I think it's interesting. I think ophthalmologists in general are pretty happy in the profession. Of all medical subspecialties, pretty happy. It's a really neat thing, even though there are challenges, declining reimbursements, more private equity involved in practices, more regulations, but overall, it's still just an outstanding field. I can't recommend it enough. I tell everyone, listen, if you've got young kids, please tell them ophthalmology is amazing. Or young.
We might be a little biased, but I completely agree. I think we have an incredible specialty. I think the things that we can do to help patients achieve better quality of life are incredible. And vision is such an important sense that we don't necessarily appreciate until we don't have it. And we are in a unique position to be able to help those patients. I think the way, as you know, the way that you talk to patients, the way that you explain things, the way that you provide that education, this is where I hope that everything pays forward, because you can make a huge difference in someone's life just by how you present to them the information about their disease state, about their upcoming surgery, et cetera, to help them understand and to help them look at things in a positive aspect, positive light. I think physicians play such a crucial role, and the better that we understand that, the more that we understand that, and the better that we're able to convey that to patients with compassion and care, the better our profession is going to be.
Right, for sure. Now, you also have another important role as president of Women in Ophthalmology. And what's interesting is that I've seen it among resident classes. Ophthalmology has become, a lot more gender equal now over the last 20 years. It wasn't always that way. Tell me about your involvement there.
Sure. Well, we're getting better. We still got some work to do, but we're getting better. I am the CEO, actually, of Women in Ophthalmology. The lovely Christina Wang is the current president this year. I came into WIO. I was elected to the board in 2016, and it was 6 months after I was on the board that the person who was chairing the upcoming annual summer symposium had stepped down. And she said that she was stepping down because she thought it should go to somebody who was younger and that could be a career builder. So it reminded me of those cases that they say to the residents, oh, this is going to be a really good learning opportunity.
It's going to be really hard.
Yeah, exactly. But thank God, he has a way of opening doors. They looked around. I was the youngest person in the room, and so they said, "Lisa, we think you would be perfect for this." And I said, "Let me think about this." So I took a step back, and I'd actually asked my dad at the time what he thought, and he told me, "You know what? I think you could. If there are things you see you could improve, I think you should do it. I think you do a great job. Just make sure that you have the ability to make the changes that you think are needed." So I went back and I said, okay, I'm going to do it, but I need two things. One is that I'm going to revamp the meeting entirely, and I don't want anyone telling me no. And two, I'm going to double the size of your largest meeting. These are exact words. This is exactly what I said. And I tell the story that they said yes, primarily because they were desperate, not because they believed me. And I know this because, WIO has a signature swag. Actually, I made it a swag bag. It was signature purse that it would give every year. And that particular year, we happened to have two different, I'm revealing secrets now, two different types of purses. Okay. And so to the outside, people thought, oh, I had even comments, oh, this is so neat. You're doing different styles. No. 2 weeks before the meeting, when we didn't have enough bags for even the pre-reg list,
more.
Right. And they couldn't get the same style in such a short order. So So thank God it went really well. I had tripled the amount of CME. I introduced a networking app. I redid the entire program. I had leadership development workshops. I brought in leveraged my friends who are partners that I work with, sponsors on a regular basis, to come in and help with the education. And I invited some incredible speakers, and thank God we ended up with 306 people that meeting. They gave me a standing ovation and subsequently elected me president. And so so that was the start. And then I started working on revamping the member benefits and getting a board in place to really help expand the organization. Created the clinical trials training program as part of my LDP project for WIO. And I was set to rotate off into a past president position when the board approached me with a strategic decision that they had made to create a CEO role for the organization because we had exploded in growth. WIO under my leadership, thank God, has grown about 400 to 500% in every measurable category.
Wow.
Yeah, just a little. I tell people I don't like doing things small. You might know this. I don't like doing anything.
You're an incredibly hardworking person. So anything you put your mind to, you are going to win.
Thank you. Yes. So Steve McLeod actually gave me a big compliment last year. He said the WIO has been the most successful organization in ophthalmology over the past 5 years. So so I've been CEO. So I went from president to CEO, and I've continued to lead the organization since. And we have an incredible board in place. As I said, Dr. Christina Wang, an amazing president, and we've really grown to meet that unmet need. And again, that's where one of my forte, I think, is to helping to identify where the educational gaps and where are the places that we can really fit. Because if I'm involved in anything, I want to make sure not only is it the highest quality, the highest level, but that we're really giving something that people need and giving something that is going to be of high value to anyone involved. So I think people know me and know my reputation now, and know that if I've got an event or I'm involved in an organization, it's going to be worth your time to be there.
That is fantastic. Where's the next meeting coming up for you?
For
WIO.
WIO, yeah. So we have in 2025, in August, we will be in Amelia Island. Yes, it's going to be fantastic. It's actually the beginning of August. So we'll see. Maybe we can get you to come too.
We'll try. Well, Mike, I have a travel schedule like yours, probably not quite as bad as yours, but you are probably on a plane every other week.
I do a lot of speaking and a lot of work. I am lucky to have a practice and a staff that is really great about organizing my time when I am here. I see patients late into the day, into the evening, I try to coordinate my schedule accordingly with all the teaching and all the speaking, but I love it. I mean, it's something that makes for a very full career, and I'm very happy with what I get to do.
Yeah, I mean, the trick, you said it, is all time management. When you are there, you're extremely efficient. In fact, for this podcast, I had to move it up to 30 minutes because my staff booked extra LASIK for me to do. So I'm going to go from this to. So I travel a lot, but when I'm in town, boy, I just am very, very, very efficient.
Yes. And it's neat, actually. I do have a lot of patients who follow what I do, and it's very sweet. They're very proud of me, and they're very excited to know that I'm speaking nationally and internationally and teaching so many surgeons about different treatments for dry eye and cataract and refractive and negotiation and everything else. And so it's fun. I think one of the great things we do in ophthalmology is we get a chance to use both sides of our brain. And I think, like I said, I'm very blessed to be able to help people with their vision and have such a fulfilling career.
Yeah, with all the projects. Yeah, people don't realize, yes, of course you do real world ophthalmology, you do the MD negotiations, you're in women in ophthalmology, but if you got your podcast, but you're also a full-time practicing cornea cataract refractive surgeon.
Yes. Yes.
You got that hat too.
Yes, that's actually my daytime job.
That's what I said too. Yeah, surgery is my daytime job. This is my after hours work.
Yes, it is. It's but I feel so blessed to be able to be here, and it's so nice to be able to see how to feel how everything has come together with the years of work that I put in to get the MDJD, to be able to build my practice to where it's at, all the mentors who have helped me. I just consider it such a blessing to be able to, invite them, like Mark Manis, who is my fellowship director. Yes, was one of the keynote speakers for this past World Ophthalmology meeting. And he actually spoke the day, I didn't realize this, but the day of the meeting was the day after he had done his last corneal transplant after 45 years. He had just retired from doing that. Yeah, so such a momentous occasion. We always have just such these incredible speakers. You can check out our website. There's people such as yourself, amazing keynote speakers, and such an incredible faculty of 65, 70 speakers each time. And to really bring all these people in one room and to have access to them all in one day, it's really just so incredible. We have such an amazing field, and I'm just so blessed to be a part of it.
Now, when the webinars are over, do you have that full video recording that you upload then for streaming at any time?
Yeah, so we have the people who registered for the meeting, our members who register will have access to the entire meeting for 3 to 6 months. And then we're working on compiling videos to figure out how we can best distribute it to our membership to go back and look. So we might have some YouTube channels. We'll see. We'll get back to you on that one.
Put on YouTube for the world to benefit.
Yes, no, it's a fantastic idea. We've got a few things coming in the works. We've got some programming coming up on starting your own practice.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. I'm a big advocate of that.
I know you are. And I think it's so important for all ophthalmologists really to keep this in mind and to look at it. It's still something that is very viable. It's something that I think is needed. And it's something that patients flock to, because patients do want options and do want a chance to have individual attention. And I think as ophthalmologists, as you said, we have all different personalities. Some of us are definitely better suited at having our own practice, being able to run our practice the way that we want to, take care of our patients the way that we want to. And I think it's a unique specialty that allows us to do that, because not every specialty in medicine has that opportunity. So we should definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah, I always say I love working for myself, but my boss is sometimes too demanding. So you gotta get it done. I gotta get more work done. More work. But it's great to be able to be your own boss. And when your patient comes to see me, I'm just treating you from the heart and from the brain. I'm never treating from the wallet. I don't have any quotas or metrics to measure. I just, hey, let me give you the best.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's true. And it's something that I think, I was very fortunate to work in a few group practices before I opened my own clinic. They were incredible learning opportunities, and I was very grateful to have that experience. And I think it just solidified for me that with all the things that I do and all the things I enjoy, that having my own practice was really the right decision for me. And I think it's something that, we need to speak loudly about, that for our young surgeons in particular, that this is an option that you have at the tip of your fingertips. And, we're here to help guide you along the way and help point you to the right resources so you can be successful doing it if you so choose.
Well, you are truly a gift to ophthalmology, all the stuff you've given, especially for our audience. Our audience skews on the younger side, probably in their 30s and 40s for most of the Cataract Coach fans. And so what you offer in terms of knowledge and a database and the skill set. It's just so amazing that you have this out there. So I encourage, if you're a Cataract Coach listener, fan, viewer, link down below, register, make use of all these free resources. It'll make your career better.
Thank you so much. We would love to see everyone at realworldophthalmology.com. We'd love to get a chance to see you in person at our events, to connect with you virtually in our events. And if you have ideas for other educational things that you're looking for, we've got some of our best ideas came from our members who shared their feedback with us. So we're always open to new thoughts.
Yeah, new partnerships and all growing together. That's the best.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, I want to thank you again for doing the podcast. I will definitely try to make it to your next event at the ASCRS or Academy or whatever. I will note that when I went to the event, I had an incredibly good time. It was so fun, but I was one of the very few people with gray hair.
We didn't notice. You blended right in as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you again for inviting me. And again, thank you for doing this podcast. And I want to remind our viewers and listeners, remember, we got a new podcast every single Sunday. Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, anywhere you get your podcast. Plus, of course, there's a new Cataract Coach video every single day. We're at more than 1 million views a month now and still growing. So until next time, I'll catch you later. Thank you again, Lisa.
Thanks so much, Uday.